Hello, 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 hello. It's so quiet. Listen. Shh. Can you hear the rain? It's just rain. The sky is crying and it's going to wash away everything. And that's beautiful. I love that. So what a quiet and intentional time for us to sit and have this conversation. Today I want to talk to you about honoring the sacred. And I'm not going to go into a bunch of concepts. This is actually something very logical that you get to do after the video. I want to talk about altars, how to set up an altar, how to work with an altar, how to honor the sacred. This is what an altar is. There are many definitions for an altar, especially depending on your religion, what it looks like. But an altar is simply how we honor the sacred. And there are many different kinds of altars as well. You have your ancestor altars or your memorial altars. You have your portable altars or your mesas. You have intentional altars where each altar has a specific intention for something that you're trying to manifest or a frequency that you're trying to put within your space. There are honoring and gratefulness type of altars. There are accidental altars, which we will also talk about, and seasonal altars. So there's so many different kinds out there, and you don't have to really nitpick it apart and decide, well, what do I need, and overthink that. Don't be super logical with it. Just let it come to you, and just if you don't have an altar in your home, just start with one. Just one that can be your all over kind of altar. Now, basically, all an altar is a space where you honor the sacred. So the first thing you need to do is just find a space where you can create an altar. This could be a shelf on your bookcase. You can get a special altar cloth and put it somewhere. You can get like a little shelfie thing. I don't know what this is called, but I found it at an antique shop. I love antiques. You can get anything to create your altar that you want to, or use a space that you already have. The only thing that really matters about that space is that it's somewhere more secluded, or a space that people just know not to touch, or that you can ask people not to touch. You don't want your altar to be in the very middle of your living room, because everybody's energy is going to be in your altar. And that's not what we want. We want your altar to be a special space that we can Pavlov your brain into connecting with spirit or with God. Your altar is going to be a place that you only come to when you want to pray, worship, connect with spirit, when you want to be in your spiritual space. And by only coming to that space for that intention, your brain dings every single time you enter that space and says, now I'm on holy ground. When you come to your altar, this is a space where you can remove your shoes, where you can automatically just bask in the sacredness of what's there. This is a space that you will keep clean, that you will honor lovingly. And I'll show you a couple of tools that I use, and I think a good bit of the community uses, in order to cleanse certain spaces and to create a sacred space. The first one, let me come over here and find my things. I want to light my candles too. You guys deserve these special. These are my Nusta candles. And my Nusta candles are all about the feminine, and I love them. So we're going to let our feminine energy just all over the place while we talk today. So Palo Santo is a really good way to cleanse your space, to create that space that we want for your altar. Some people And this is just wood, but you want to make sure that when you order it, because it doesn't really grow here in America, so you want to make sure that when you order it, that you're ordering it from a place that ethically sources it. There are places that just get the wood from already fallen trees versus places that chop down the trees. We want to ethically source. But some people really like to use sage or rosemary or cedar. And any herb that's cleansing like that is a great idea. You might want to use something that you source yourself, that you can get yourself close to where you live. There's lots of cedar and pine that grow around my area. So those might be things that you can get the needles, dry the needles, make them into bundles and light that instead. But for today, we're going to use Palo Santo. Now each herb is slightly different. I like the wood. I like the Palo Santo because I feel like it not only cleanses the space, but refills the energy of that space. Whereas I use sage when I just purely want to cleanse a space and then refill it with my own intentions. And so Palo Santo kind of helps me have to skip that step a little bit so that I don't have to sit and refill the room with my own energy. It's just automatically refilled. So after you, if it's a brand new piece, you might want to let it burn for a little bit before you blow it out, or else it'll just kind of go out. And this is a brand new piece. I just got it this morning from downstairs. But when you blow it out, it smokes just like incense, and you can use incense too. So I like to make sure that my hands are clean and washed, that I cleanse my body with the smoke, that I cleanse the room, the space, and then I come to the space that I want to set up as my altar, and I cleanse that with the smoke as well. You can do it with the incense, anything like that. Now, you also might want to make sure you clean the space first with your regular cleansing agents. If it's an old shelf or chest or something that has dust or different things in it, actually physically clean the space first, and then we energetically cleanse the space. Now, after we have energetically cleansed it with the smoke, some people like to use Florida water. This is my favorite cleansing agent, Florida water, Agua de Florida. And this one's made in New York, but there's a cinnamon one that's made in Peru that I really, really love. And you can make your own Florida water. All it takes is a ton of vodka, and then you put in a bunch of essential oils, because oils and herbs act as cleansing agents. And mix that up really good, and you can do that seasonally. I like to make seasonal Florida water, you know, because in the winter I can put cinnamon in it and wooded type of oils, such as Palo Santo oil or myrrh, frankincense, things like that, sandalwood. And then from your more spring type Florida waters, you can use rosemary, calendula. You can use all of the roses and the different flower oils and herb oils, and those are really refreshing. I like to put like lemon peels, orange peels, things like that in it, and it's really nice. So this will discolor stained wood or any furniture that has a dye of some sort on it. It can discolor it because it's alcohol. So you want to make sure that you're doing this as safely as possible to protect your own furniture and your own space. So you can put it in your mouth and blow it. You can put it in a spray bottle and spray it, and kind of spray it in the air in that space, and it cleanses the air almost astringently. I love it. You can also use Florida water to cleanse the items that you're putting on the altar. Everything that goes on the altar, you also want it to be cleansed and clean. So if you're going to spray it in the air from your mouth, keep it in the front of your mouth. I promise. Keep it in the front, and you might not even want to do this because it is alcohol. So, okay, I'll show you. Just keep it in the front. And you blow it into the air, and it smells so good, and it's so cleansing. I love it. but I have seen many people choke on it. So don't like try to bring it back in your mouth. Keep it right here. That's the trick. Now, that's how we cleanse the air. We use the Palo Santo in the air over the altar. We cleanse it with the Florida water. But how do we know what to put on it? An altar is God's table. It is your place of worship. It is where you connect in. So in order to make this the space where you're honoring the sacred, we have to put sacred things there that really engage all of our senses, that teach us that this is a sacred space. And I don't want you to rush. I think a lot of people, when they're first setting up their altars, they rush to make it look like an altar space. They rush to make it aesthetic. And that ends up with clutter over time, because then you realize you have things on your altar that don't really mean as much as other things that you've added later. So always just start with the clean altar space. Come into that space and know that this is where you're going to pray, that this is where you're going to do your journey work, that this is where you're going to connect in with your higher self, with your God self, with spirit. So it's okay to have a completely blank altar space at first, as long as you are going there for the right reasons. You're washing your hands every single time you come to your altar. You are taking off your shoes every time you come to your altar. You are coming to your altar with reverence, with honor, maybe even bowing your head every time you come to the altar, because you know you are in a holy space. You know that this is going to be where people show up for you, where angels and ancestors show up for you. So always enter it with reverence. You never enter it without intentional movement. You don't run to your altar. You don't come in the room angrily and throw things down and then go flop at your altar. You don't allow children to run all over your altar or to grab all of your things. You don't let people come touch your things on your altar. You might not let other people sit at your altar unless they know the sacredness and importance, and they just want to share that space with you and honor that space with you. This is a space that's very giving, so you also want to give back to it. So sometimes you might find yourself doing offerings at your altar. When you think about a church altar, it might just be the front steps, or it might be the table where they do the sacrament, so the bread and the wine, or grape juice. And this is quite often in a church called the altar. So people come to that altar to engage in sacrament, which is the memorial, which is remembering the blood and body of the Christ. They come to the altar for prayer when they need healing, when they want to connect there, when they want to worship and just bow in reverence. So this is going to be the same concept, except it's right here in your home, and it's all you and what you find sacred and holy, and you can fill it with whatever you want. And we have this blank space. So, what is your practice? You don't have to know the answer to that yet, because if we are just starting out, you may not have a specific spiritual practice yet. You may not read the Bible. You may not chant. You may not know how to meditate or how to journey yet. And that's okay. We'll get to all of those things in other videos. Right now, we're just creating your holy, sacred space, so it's okay if it's blank. If you do have a spiritual practice where you know that how you connect is through reading the Bible or through chanting or through journey work or meditation, you might have certain tools that you use for that, such as a book, the Bible, such as your mala beads for your chanting. Your tools might want to go there. So you cleanse your tools and you intentionally bring them to your altar and create a space for them. I also like to put things on my altar that remind me of sacredness and holiness, that incite all of my senses. So our senses are things that we can see, that we can smell, that we can touch, that we can hear, that we can taste. So in your altar space, you might like to have chimes, bells. You might like to have a fountain of bubbling water, or you might just like to have a speaker nearby that you can Bluetooth some of your favorite Hertz music or binaural beats or flute music or whatever it is that you like. Here at my altar, I don't have necessarily anything that makes sound, but I have a Bluetooth speaker right here. And when I come in and set up this space, I know whether I want to connect on my own in the quiet or whether I want to connect in with a specific music. And I can put that music on. You can also bring in hand drums. Sometimes your drum is the music that you want and you create that music yourself, and it almost represents the heartbeat of the earth, the heartbeat of Pachamama, of Mother Earth. And so that is a good thing to place there. And there's lots of chimes and lots of bells throughout many different societies and religions that are used. So that's something for sound. Something for sight. Pictures or statues. Your idea of what divinity is. Now, I have a lot of roses, dried roses, all over my home. And they all represent something to me. The red rose, to me, represents certain aspects of my personality and my healing. So it means something special to me specifically. But every rose that I have was given to me at some point, and I have kept it and dried it and then created some sort of arrangement with it. If you are ever lucky enough to enter the front living room of my home, it is covered in arrangements made with dried red roses. So that might be something that I place on an altar, a dried red rose or an arrangement of those dried red roses, because it means something special to me about myself, about my healing journey, about my personality. And the roses themselves are special because of the person who gave them to me or the reason that they were given to me. Statues. There's a lot of statues of many, many different things. You have your Egyptian statues, you have statues of the divine feminine goddess, divine masculines, you have statues of Jesus, statues of Mother Mary. My light up bottle here is one that I bring in, and this one's special. I use this more as an elemental because it lights up, so that kind of represents fire to me because I don't always burn candles at my altar. But a client actually hand painted the bottle. I know you can't see it really when it's lit up. Let me see. So with it off, you can see the Mother Mary holding the baby Jesus, and she hand painted this. And I told her how much I loved it. I just saw it in a picture that she was showing me. I told her how much I loved it, and she gave it to me. So I keep it on my altar. I love it a whole lot, because those who know me well also know that I really like to embody the Mother Mary. I have 3 boys, and my rising sign is in Cancer, so I really like to mother people. Don't get it twisted. I have a Capricorn moon, which means I'm also daddy, but I am mother. And so the Mother Earth, the Virgin Mother, these are things that mean a lot to me about caring and healing and loving. So I use that on my altar. Now, let's just pause here and talk a minute about idols. Because depending on where you're from, you have probably heard that having statues around are evil and of the devil. So that is largely due to many verses in the Bible that talk about idols, that talk about statues being worshipped. What is the definition of an idol? Let's look that up. I'm so glad you asked. What is the definition of an idol? It is an image or representation of a god used as an object of worship, or a person or thing that is greatly admired, loved, or revered. Or a pop singer. I don't know what that means. A pop singer. So there are definitions of idol which says that it's an image or statue that is regarded as equal to or greater than God. But these types of definitions are purely coming from Christian sites, whereas there are other definitions that just talk about it being a representation or it just being someone you greatly admire or love. So always making sure that in your spiritual practice and in your religious practice, no matter what religion you are using your own definition of things and what you feel like is right. I personally love this statue. I searched and searched and searched for years for a Jesus statue that I felt like I connected with, because I like to work with Jesus. I work with Jesus every day, and he was the ultimate healer / teacher. And I finally found this one of him doing the Brahma Mudra, and I use that mudra, and it really opens things up, and I really love it. But that doesn't mean that I sit and bow to this statue and think to myself that this is God. To me, any type of statue or something that you're going to put on your altar is a representation. It is an essence. It simply holds an essence of something you're connecting with. So when I come and I sit at this altar and I bow here, what I'm doing in my mind is I'm connecting to the essence of Jesus. This is representing it, but the statue doesn't directly talk to me. I am connecting with the essence of Jesus and getting that energy, and we're having communications. So this essentially is prayer, where I am putting something out to Jesus, to God, and getting an answer and response. Representation, but it's something special to me. It's something I searched for. It's something I found. It's something that is beautiful to me. And so this sits on my altar to represent the ultimate healer, teacher, and the spirit that I like to connect to teach me how to be that for others. And the one thing that vulnerable moment, PSA, the one thing that I pray for every time I sit at this particular altar is to be able to perform healing miracles. I think that's so special to be able to do today in this society. I understand how long sessions are needed psychologically. Psychologically, people need to undo their past training. Psychologically, people need to open themselves from their limiting beliefs and become limitless, expansive, to believe in magic and miracles. Because unless they can open themselves to it and believe in it, it won't happen. But I also want to believe in it, which means that I have to work with that being a possibility. Because if I don't believe that I can perform instantaneous healing miracles using the energy that comes through me, then I never will. Nobody will ever be healed instantaneously unless I believe that I can do it, and they believe it's possible through me from God, from Source. So that's a very special part of what's on my altar. So you can also put pictures on your altar. So if there are certain archangels you work with, you can put statues of the archangels. You can put pictures of the archangels. If you're creating an ancestor altar, you can put pictures of certain ancestors. I actually have a stone that represents my mother's essence. My mother passed when I was young, but she had a gift of being able to speak with Archangel Gabriel. And that gift came to me also. So that particular stone represents my mother's essence from the other side, and also the gift of my original blueprint, the blue avians, and speaking with that archangel. So that's a stone that can be placed on the altar. Now, lots of different stones can be placed on the altar if they hold certain essences. That's really all you have to do with any object placed there. You almost encode objects that are being placed there. So, for instance, if this stone to me just really reminded me of my family, my children, my home, the love, the safety that's there, all I would have to do is just intend for this to hold that essence, for it to represent that to me in my mind. And then when I place this on the altar, every time I come to it, I will have that feeling inside. I will know, wow, this is my safety, my love, my children, my home. And I will feel that. I will feel those essences around me from my altar space. Now you can put feathers there that come to you, pretty much anything, any object, anything that just reminds you visually of your spiritual practice or things that are sacred to you. Remember, this is all about honoring the sacred, so anything sacred to you can go on your altar. We did visual, we did auditory, everything there you touch. Smells. So smells, those are so special, and they're really actually important. Some people don't think the smell is that important, and I super beg to differ. They can invoke peaceful feelings. I do a lot of long distance work. And I actually feel like with long distance work, they have an advantage because they get more of me. I feel like they get more of my energy and more of my time because we're not worried with moving around our physical bodies or our physical space. I can connect straight in and just work energetically for their full length of time. Whereas somebody who's in person, I have to end a couple of minutes early so I can get them downstairs and checked out before my next appointment. We probably start a couple minutes later because I have to greet them and bring them into the room and lay them down and get them comfortable. But the people who are here in person, they get to smell the smells of my room. They get to smell the Palo Santo smoke that I just burned to cleanse before they came in. They get to smell the Florida water still misting in the air. They get to smell me because I smell amazing. Seriously, I make my own oil. I have fashioned it after supposedly what Cleopatra wore, along with some floral oils that I felt guided to and that I connect with and that represent spirit to me and love to me. And so that's always rubbed on my skin when I'm in my spiritual space because it's part of invoking my own spiritual essence. So I have a special oil that I work with every time I come to my sacred space. So your oils might be here. You might have an oil diffuser that you want to put here. You might want to do your incense or have a bowl of herbs that smell nice. And what that does is it invokes immediate peace, trust, love, bliss, safety. It invokes something inside a person to smell those holy smells. And smells really link something in your brain. I have had multiple people come in to the shop, and when I have certain incenses burning, they say, oh, I feel like I'm home right now. And I'm like, yes, because you connect your spiritual practice with certain smells. So, let's see, we did taste. Okay, taste, that might come along if you blow Florida water from your mouth. That taste incites something for sure. But some people really like to put a little bit of salt on their altar because salt represents that goodness of life. It represents the adventure. So my name is Mary, and Mary means bitterness of the ocean, bitterness of the sea. And when I was growing up, I really hated that. I was like, bitterness? Why couldn't I have a name like Beautiful Flower or something like that? Bitterness of the sea, wow. And it wasn't until I was older and really started coming into my own self-acceptance and self-love that I realized, what creates the bitterness that's in the sea? Salt. Salt creates the bitterness in the sea. And salt is so cleansing. The ocean is so healing because of the salt, not because of the water. The water is a medium. The salt creates the cleansing, creates the healing, creates that effect where you can just float on the ocean. It pushes you up, it buoys you. The salt is the thing that gives life meaning, that makes life interesting. Your food is a means to an end. It nurtures you, it nourishes you. But the salt makes you want it. The salt is the thing that makes it savor in your mouth. So remembering to savor life can be important, and you can place a little bit of salt on your altar and just lick your finger and put that on your tongue when you sit at your space. You might also like to put little teeny pieces of chocolate on your altar to remind you of the sweetness of life, and chocolate, especially dark chocolate, really kind of connects you into Mother Earth as well. Cacao, things like that. Now, these are things you might not want to do all the time. You might not just want to sit at your altar and eat a whole bowl of Reese cups or anything like that, but just a small piece to incite something, just a tiny little piece to incite something inside of you that reminds you of a particular thing. For some people, this might look like a sacrament. It might look like a tiny piece of bread that you keep on your altar, or like a small cracker that you keep on your altar. And that's completely up to you. For some people, it might be a citrus because that's very, very cleansing, and it has a lot to do with energy and creativity. So I think those are all the senses. You can touch, hear, see, taste, smell. We have 5 senses. 5 physical senses. Yeah. So then you might want to begin putting things on your altar that are representative of elementals. So you can put bowls of water, bowls of earth, like dirt. You can put feathers or bells to represent air. And you can candle. You can put a candle there. Now back to this little lamp, like I said, this is more of an elemental for me because I don't always burn candles at my altar, especially if I'm working, because I don't want a blanket to get into the fire or anything like that. But fire is very transmutive. It takes everything that you're releasing, it takes negative energy, and it transmutes it into positive energy. It also takes your prayers, your wishes, your intentions, and transmutes it into something abstract and spiritual, something that can't be seen. So fire is very, very good to transmute. But this, because it lights up, I use this to represent my fire elemental a lot of days. Now, I don't keep a bowl of water here for multiple reasons. One, I will kick it over because so I don't want to say I'm clumsy, because that would be an admission of being ungrounded, I guess. But my dad used to call me Grace when I was growing up. So take that how you will. I will kick over a bowl of water if I have it here. But I do have an entire fish tank right here on this side. You can't quite see it. And I like to keep a fish tank or a fountain or something like that nearby. Fish tanks are so special. And fishes, oh my gosh, you have to create an entire ecosystem within these tanks. You have to have the substrate. You have to have the water itself. You have to have the plants. You have to have microbes in there, filters, heaters, things to keep it sustainable. You have to have your bottom feeders. You have to have your mid feeders. You have to have your top feeders. And this creates an entire ecosystem, like a little mini water planet that is just representative of everything. I love it. and that's at home. But in this particular space, I have a tank with one fish and the plants and all that kind of stuff. But this fish, the fish that I have in this room, takes a lot of energy. I really use betas in my healing space because the water is so, I want to make up a word, amplificatory. It amplifies. The water amplifies, and it helps things flow and move, and it takes things on, and it helps with dream states, lucid dreams. So the fish needs to be a hardy fish because it will take on a lot of energy if it's in your healing space where you're doing a lot of your healing work. This is my second fish in 2 or 3 years, but we've had 3 snails. You know, I try to put a snail in there so he doesn't get lonely. Plus the snail has the hard shell so the beta can't like hurt him. And the snails also help keep the algae down since we do have live plants. But those snails, they're like, this is too much energy, and they just unalive themselves. They really do. They just kind of, whoa, and like come out of the tank, and they're just, and they've all been named Samantha. So we had Samantha 2 and Samantha 3, and they all kind of let themselves go after a certain amount of time because it was a lot of energy for them. So I have not gotten around to getting a Samantha 4 yet because I don't want that to happen again, but at the same time it's probably needed because it's a lot of work to keep up a tank with a lot of algae if you don't have a bottom feeder. Anyways, all that to say, that's my water right there. But these shells are very, very common to find in metaphysical shops or online. You can get abalone shells. Now, once again, you want to find ethically sourced abalone shells because this was an animal in the ocean at one point. But people eat abalone, so finding the shells shouldn't be difficult at all. And this one is very beautiful, and I love it. And it represents water to me because it represents the ocean and the ocean animals. And I am so connected to the ocean. I love the ocean. And it doubles as a holder for your sage bundles or your Palo Santo sticks. Now, the element of fire we talked about as being very transmutive. It holds a lot of creative energy and a lot of action energy. When you think of your inner fire and you're working with fire, you're feeling that warmth move through your creative energy, your action space. When you think of fire, we sometimes think of the nurturing side, the warmth, the cooking, the transmutation, and sometimes we think of the destructive side. And that's okay because we are destructive entities as well. We have to destroy in order to rebuild. We have to destroy in order to transmute. This is just the nature of the fire within us. So your elementals will represent things about you that you can connect in with and that just remind you of aspects of yourself. Now with the water, this represents our emotion and our ability to flow through life. This is your peace space. I have done another short video a little bit about water and that emotion and how it moves and flows, but really just bringing peace to the space. Now you can put things on your altar that represent air. So representing air, you can do bells, you can do feathers, anything like that. And this just reminds you of your inspiration, your destiny, your hope. For me, air is represented very much by music or vocals because this is the inspiration and the expression of that inspiration. So I have my guitar over here, which I sometimes keep in that corner, but that's a very large thing. So there's always lots of feathers. I have a million feathers around here. And then earth. A bowl of earth is actually so good because you can smell the earth. You can put your fingers into that earth, into that dirt, and it grounds you beyond belief to have a bowl of dirt in your altar space. I had a bowl of dirt in here for a certain amount of time and I took it out. So for me, representing earth, I use like my mala beads are made of sandalwood. So anything here that's like wood or of the earth represents that earth energy to me. Plus I also have stones that represent the earth. This particular stone represents Mother Earth to me. And I have imbued it with Mother Earth's energy. So the elementals, really, the more you work with them and connect with them through meditation on your altar, they just teach you about yourself. And they help you move emotion, they help you stay inspired and express that, they help you take action on your inspirations, and they help keep you grounded and in a healed state. Now, in Christianity, there are 4 types of altars. There are praise altars, prayer altars, peace altars, and provision altars. I don't use those particular kinds of altars. I do intentional altars. Now, an intentional altar for me is something like what I have downstairs in my shop. We have 2 intentional altars downstairs in the shop, one at the back door where all of the employees come in, and one at the front door where all of the customers come in. Now, the altar at the back door, I have a bowl of water with a rose of Jericho inside of it. We have a mini Merkaba altar cloth there, and we have a dish that's filled with salt, cinnamon, coins, crystals, all kinds of different things there. We have money around it, herbs, we have cups of herbs, a cup of water, there are plants there that kind of represent earth energy, and we just have a bunch of different things there. But every single morning when I come in that back door, before I go anywhere else in the shop, I make sure that altar is clean of all ash, of cat hair, because the cats like to drink out of that altar. I can't control them. They're out of control, honestly. But I make sure it's clean, and I get a certain incense. I light that incense and put it there, and I sit and do my morning prayer. I set my morning intention for the day. What I want out of this day, not just for me, but for the shop, for all of the clients, for all of the customers, for my community, for my world. What do I want? And I sit there at that altar and I envision all of that coming through me like a fountain surrounding everything else. All of the house, the shop, the customers, the clients, my community, the world. Just see it moving all over everything with that intention. That intention is usually peace, joy, healing, things like that. And those are my intentions for what I want people to get from being in this space, what I want ultimately to see in the world. So to me, that is an intentional altar at my workspace. The altar in the front, where the clients come in, and I have one of those little altars over here in the corner too, is very much a work and intentional altar, because that one is to bring in customers, to bring in clients, to bring in money, to bring in joy, to draw things in that need to be in this space to make the space seen and known. These 2 things that I have here they're like little glass turtles in a glass dish, and we put water in it with a cube of camphor. We can put money underneath that. And once again, we're kind of taught sometimes not to want to intend for money. And I think it's okay to intend for money. We don't want that to be our end point or our end goal. We don't want that to be our focus. Our focus should never be just the money, because we want our focus to be peace, love, realization of purpose and destiny. Those are the things that we're here to do. But we also need to live, and our society's standard of living is paper currency. So we do need money to be able to continue. And there's nothing wrong with success. There's nothing wrong with comfort. There's nothing wrong with those things. So you, even if you are not a spiritual practitioner who's intending all the time on peace, you probably go to work with the intention just to make money and to take it home. And that's not wrong. You want to do your absolute best at your job. Now, the problem comes in if you go to your job purely to make money, you're a negative asshole the whole time you're there, you hate everything, you hate everyone, and you are just filling the space with negative energy. No matter what job you have to make money, to make ends meet, to create abundance materially for your life, always do it in a way that is positive, that fills the space with gratefulness. Everything you do, do to the best of your ability. Everything. This is your personal integrity. Always do every job, even if it's cleaning your house, cleaning the toilet, washing the dishes. Everything that you do should be done to the best of your ability. Those are two altars that are intentional. We intend to draw in customers. We intend to share our knowledge with them. We intend to make money. We also intend to bring peace. We intend to bring joy. Those are intentional altars. Now we also have portable altars. This mesa is a portable altar. Within it, I have certain stones that are programmed with certain essences. I'm not going to super get into that right now because this is an altar that you build when you take my medicine wheel course. And this altar you can fold and carry it with you. Now this altar essentially is filled with everything that I need to work, to do my healing work. So a mesa or a portable altar most of the time is about your own healing work or the healing work that you do for others. It's filled with your spiritual tools, with your spirit allies, those sorts of things. Now you can also have an ancestor or memorial altar. And in those kind of altars, you might want to put pictures of your ancestors, stones that represent essences of your ancestors, the positive attributes or gifts that your ancestors have passed on, anything that represents them. And a lot of the time with ancestor altars, we give gifts. We place items on that altar that exchange energy because our ancestors have given us so much wisdom. They've cleared the path for us. So we place things there to replace that energy, such as food or herbs or blessings. And we just exchange that energy in love. Now we also have honor and gratefulness type of altars. Now for me, that is kind of like what this altar is. This is the altar I come to connect with spirit, to do my journey work, to do my meditation, to do my chanting, to honor the greatest healer and teacher of all time. This is where I come in honor, in that sacredness of my spirituality and my spiritual practice. So when you start an altar, this is probably going to be the one you do, where it's just all about everything that you hold as sacred within your practice and within your space. Now we also have seasonal altars. These are ones that you create with obviously the seasons, but they're more prevalent in other types of cultures or in other earth religions. So if you honor the equinox, the those sorts of things, the autumn season when it comes in, you might have certain things that you set out there, such as like pine cones or pine branches or things like that. Yule, they use a log, so it's almost like creating a seasonal altar with everything that's there. Spring, we have little flower crowns and things like that, and these are all seasonal things that can be placed on an altar to represent the changing of the seasons and what each season represents, whether it represents the fullness of the sun, the masculine energy, the harvest of the crops, or whether it represents the darkest nights of the year where it's all pure feminine energy and everything is being reborn. Everything has died back and is being reborn. Each season kind of represents something, and so we can create seasonal altars for that. Now, sometimes we get altars. I personally have a gratefulness or honor altar for my clients as well, and for my teachers. So I have a shelf on my bookshelf across the room that has certificates, diplomas, certificates framed that I received from my teachers. I've had 2 really good, important teachers, and so those teachers each have something framed up there. But also, this is where I place all the gifts that I've received from my clients. If you've ever given me something and I'm not using it to decorate my room, chances are it's on that altar. People have brought me things from Egypt. There's little stones. There's one stone that was given to me by a client of mine whose mother died, and that stone had been given to her by her mother, and she brought it to me as a gift, and so that one's so special and important, and I have that there. I had a long-distance client who made the journey here in person, and she found a ring outside in the parking lot before she came in, and she gave me the ring as a gift, and that's on that altar. I have all kinds of things up on that altar. All of the cards that I received in Chicago are on that altar. So anyone who's ever thought to gift me with something, they are being honored on my altar every single day. And those altars draw our intentions and draw energy in and ripple that out. So along that line, let's talk about accidental altars. Look, I guarantee you've got an accidental altar somewhere, or you have had one somewhere. An accidental altar happens when you are placing some sort of importance on an object subconsciously, and you place that object somewhere, and over time it begins to build. For instance, there is a voodoo shop across town, and I'm friends with the papa's son, and so I ended up with a card one day when I left there, and I placed it in the little console of my car. The next time I went there a month later, I came back with a feather, and I placed that there next to the card. The month after that, when I went to get my candles, I came back and I had a flower that I had found out there, and I put that there. And over the course of 6 months, I suddenly looked down and realized I had an entire altar for my friend at the shop without even realizing that that's what I was doing. But it was just objects about that person or that reminded me of that person, and they had an entire altar just built in my car. So to dismantle that, over time, I slowly took one piece and brought those pieces back to the shop and gifted them back to my friend. And then I cleansed that space and it was dismantled. But we do this a lot without even realizing it, because things that people give us, we put in certain places, or a flower someone gives us, we let dry and let sit on a shelf. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, as long as we know that what we're doing is we are commemorating that person and that gift and freezing it in time and placing it there because it reminds us of something that makes us feel good. So you probably have altars all over the place that represent things that make you feel good. If you are a collector of any kind and you like certain objects and you collect certain objects and have your displays are altars. Altars simply hold your intentions and your energy for what you hold as sacred. And those are the things you hold as sacred. So when you work with your altars, you're just connecting in every day. Like I said, you're washing your hands before you come in. You're taking off your shoes. You're entering with reverence, with grace. And you sit there and you're connecting to the essences that you want to connect with. You're having your spiritual practice. If you have any other questions about altars or how to work with them, please place your comments below, your questions below, and just let me know what you want answered or what topics you want to hear about next, because we're going to be moving through a few different ones as time goes on. But how do we feel about an Eisteddfod? Okay. So I do want to, in one of my next videos, get into prayer bundles and despachos, because I think that those might be kind of the next steps along with these altars in gratefulness and joy and honoring sacredness. So go ahead and let yourself set up an altar of some sort as your special sacred place for your spiritual practice, for where you're going to pray, where you're going to worship. Start Pavloving yourself into feeling that sacredness and that bliss and that stillness when you come to that space. And next time we'll talk a little bit about prayer bundles and how to build those and do those. Now I've been talking for a long time, so I'm a little hoarse. Nay. I know, I'm gay. Okay. Now, this guitar is different than the one from last time. This one was given to me by my dad when I was 12 or 13. And he got it for me because I told him there was a Red Hot Chili Pepper song that I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn it on the guitar. And he told me I wasn't allowed because it was called Californication and it had the word fornication in it. So I wasn't allowed to learn that song. But he did get me a guitar. And I never learned to use it because until I was older, because I really just wanted to learn that one song. And I should have known right then that it wasn't about the instrument itself that I felt guided to. It was the expression of inspiration that I was trying to get to. I felt inspired by that song in my 12, 13-year-old mind, and I wanted to express that through my own sound. So that's what I do, is I take songs, I turn them into my own versions, I call them Mary's versions of songs, and I express my own inspiration through them. Now, this guitar is also different from the last one I played in that the action's a little higher, so the strings are a little more stiff. So it has a, I don't want to say more aggressive sound, but it can have a more steely sound to it. It's also very old and it needs to have its strings changed. The strings are turning green. But this is the guitar that I keep at the shop all the time, that I play randomly whenever I want to, that my friends play here, that the other shopkeepers play here. So this one has a lot of energy in it that's not just mine. So, okay. Let's see. I actually have some printed here. I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control, 'cause the power you're supplying is electrifying. better shape up, 'cause I need a man, and my heart is set on you. You better shape up, you better understand. To my heart I must be true, nothing left for me to do. You're the one that I want, you're the one you're the one that I want, you're the one you're the one that I want, you're the one I need. Oh yes indeed. If you're filled with affection, you're too shy to convey. Meditate my direction, feel your way. You better shape up, 'cause I need a man who can keep me satisfied. You better shape up if you're gonna prove that my faith is justified. Yes, I'm sure down deep inside, you're the one that I want, you're the one you're the one that I want, you're the one you're the one that I want, you're the one one I need. Oh yes indeed. Listen, I'm gonna blow out this candle because it's literally choking me. It has turned into a mad, crazy flame. Thank you, beautiful candle of the Nustas. Aho! Let's get this smoke out of here. Goodness gracious, them girls were getting it. Them girls were getting it. Them Nusta girls were getting it. Now, this one, today is a very special day because a resident artist here at the shop and a very dear friend of mine passed away a couple of years ago, and today is his birthday. So along the same lines of the expression in the song I wanted to sing back when I was 13, I actually was inspired to learn the guitar as an adult because of a Cigarettes After Sex song that I wanted to learn how to play. And he was the one who introduced me to Cigarettes After Sex. It's a music group. And if I think about that, if I had told my dad I wanted to play a Cigarettes After Sex song, he wouldn't have let me do that one either. So I just would have never learned. But that was the inspiration to actually learning how to play for myself. And I'm not going to play Cigarettes After Sex right now, but that just came to my mind because of the story and because it is his birthday. But he also introduced me to Angus and Julia Stone, and I am going to do an Angus and Julia Stone song. I don't know why. I don't know why. Do you believe that there's treasures in the ocean? Did I say I'm just a boy? One kiss from you and I'm drunk up on your potion. Big old smile is all you wore. Girl, you make me wanna feel things I've never felt before. Girl, you make me wanna feel. Did I say I'm just a boy? Did I say I'm just a boy? You can hold me to that. No lonely hands grab my suitcase full of nothing. I don't know why. I don't know why. You took me in, gave me something to believe in. Big old smile is all you wore. Girl, you make me wanna feel things I've never felt before. Girl, you make me wanna feel. Did I say I'm just a boy? Did I say I'm just a boy? You can hold me to that. Thank you so much for joining me today, honoring the sacred with our intentional altars and learning a little bit about your version of what you can put there, what's important to you, what beliefs to tear down in order to know what's important to you, and a little bit of ice the fun. We had an amazing time, an amazing day, and this is a great day to honor what is sacred to you.